I wasn't supposed to be out that night. Honestly, if my phone hadn't died and if I hadn't missed the last bus by literally 30 seconds, none of it would have happened. I would have gone home, microwaved something sad, and fallen asleep scrolling through the same 3 apps like always. Instead, I ended up walking alone through a part of the city I didn't really know, at almost midnight. And that's when Ronnie found me. Or saved me, I guess. I remember the exact moment things shifted. Up until then, it was just annoying. Cold biting through my hoodie, streets getting quieter the further I walked, that weird feeling like the city was slowly emptying out around me. I kept telling myself I was fine. I wasn't fine. The streetlights got more spaced out. Fewer cars. No people. Just the echo of my own footsteps and that constant, low hum of something distant, traffic maybe, or the highway a few blocks over. I checked my phone again out of habit, even though I already knew it was dead. Great, I muttered, shoving it back into my pocket. That's when I noticed I wasn't alone anymore. At first, it was subtle. Just a sound that didn't match mine. A second rhythm. Slightly off. I slowed down. The other steps slowed too. My stomach dropped. I didn't turn around right away. I don't know why. Maybe I didn't want to confirm it. Maybe I thought if I ignored it, it would go away. It didn't. Hey! A voice called from behind me. Casual. Too casual. I kept walking. Hey, man! Hold up! Yeah, no thanks. My pace picked up, and I heard them do the same. Now it wasn't subtle anymore. There were at least 2 of them. I could hear it clearly. One had heavier steps, dragging slightly. The other, faster, lighter. Were you going in such a rush? The first voice said, closer now. My chest tightened. I turned my head just enough to glance back. 2 guys. Mid-20s maybe. One of them smirking like this was funny. The other just watching me. Wrong energy. Completely wrong. I'm good, I said quickly, facing forward again. Just heading home. Yeah? The smirking one said. Which way's home? I didn't answer. That was the moment I knew, really knew, I'd messed up. I turned the next corner fast, hoping maybe I could lose them, but they followed immediately. No hesitation. Relax, the second one said, his voice lower. We're just talking. I let out a dry laugh. Yeah, I'm not interested. Not interested? The first one mocked. That's kinda rude, don't you think? My heart was pounding so hard it felt stupid. Like, embarrassingly loud in my own ears. I scanned ahead, empty street. Closed shops. One flickering streetlight. No help. Look, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I don't want any trouble. Then don't make it trouble. He shot back. Footsteps. Faster now. I didn't even think, I just started walking quicker, almost a jog. Hey! One of them snapped. And then, a car door slammed somewhere ahead. Loud. Sharp. Cutting through everything. All 3 of us looked up at the same time. There was a car parked halfway down the street, engine off, headlights dark. I hadn't even noticed it before. But now someone was stepping out of it. Tall. Broad shoulders. Calm. He didn't rush. Didn't shout. Just stood there for a second, like he was assessing the situation. Then he started walking toward us. Everything good here? He asked. His voice wasn't loud, but it carried. The 2 guys behind me slowed. Yeah, the smirking one said, but it came out different now. Less confident. We're just talking. The guy, Ronnie, though I didn't know his name yet, stopped a few feet away. Close enough to step in if he had to. Doesn't look like just talking, he said. There was a pause. Tension stretched tight. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. One of them scoffed. Mind your business. Ronnie tilted his head slightly, like he was considering that. Then he said, It became my business the second you followed him. Silence. Something about the way he said it, calm, direct, shifted everything. The smirking guy glanced at his friend. A quick, silent exchange. Whatever, he muttered finally. Not worth it. Just like that. They turned and walked off. I didn't fully process it until their footsteps faded completely. And then it hit me all at once. The adrenaline. The relief. The shaking I couldn't control anymore. I exhaled hard, dragging a hand down my face. Hey, the guy said, Ronnie? Softer now. You okay? I nodded too quickly. Yeah, I'm fine. I wasn't fine. He studied me for a second, like he didn't believe me. Where are you headed? He asked. I hesitated, suddenly aware of how stupid this all sounded. Honestly? I don't even know anymore. I got turned around. He let out a quiet breath through his nose, almost like a small laugh. Figures, he said. I frowned slightly. What does that mean? This area? He gestured around us. Not great at night. Yeah, I muttered. I'm starting to realize that. That earned a real smile from him this time. Small, but there. And that's when I actually looked at him properly. Dark hoodie. Hands shoved into his pockets. Hair a little messy like he'd been running his hands through it. There was something steady about him. Grounded. Safe. Which was ironic, considering I'd met him 30 seconds ago. I'm Ronnie, he said. Miles. There was a brief pause. Not awkward, just quiet. You shouldn't be walking alone out here, Miles, he said. I shrugged weakly. Didn't really have a choice. He glanced at my pocket. Dead phone? Yeah. Of course. For a second, neither of us said anything. The night felt different now. Less threatening. Like the air had shifted. Then he nodded toward his car. Come on, he said. I'll give you a ride. I hesitated. Not because I thought he was dangerous, but because something about him, about this whole situation, felt too unexpected. Like my night had just split into two different paths. And somehow, I'd ended up on this one. Are you sure? I asked. Ronnie looked at me like that was the dumbest question I could have asked. You really want to keep walking? He said. I exhaled. No. He gave a small nod, like he expected that. Then get in. And I did. I didn't know it yet, but that was the moment everything started. Not the part where he saved me. The part where I started falling for him. The second I closed the passenger door, everything felt quieter. Not just outside, but in my head too. Ronnie's car smelled faintly like coffee and something clean, like laundry detergent. It was warm inside, a huge contrast to the cold that had been clinging to me for the last 20 minutes. For a second, neither of us said anything. He started the engine, the soft rumble filling the silence, then glanced over at me. Seatbelt, he said. I blinked, then let out a small, awkward laugh. Right. Yeah. Click. He pulled away from the curb like it was nothing. Like this was normal. Like he didn't just step into a situation that could have gone really bad. I, on the other hand, still felt like my body hadn't caught up yet. My hands were shaking slightly, so I shoved them into the sleeves of my hoodie. You're still tense, Ronnie said, eyes on the road. I'm not. I started, then stopped. Okay, maybe a little. A little? He repeated, one eyebrow lifting. I exhaled, leaning my head back against the seat. Okay, yeah? That was not great. Yeah, he said simply. There was no dramatizing it. No weird attempt to downplay it either. Just acknowledgement. And weirdly, that helped more than anything. We drove in silence for a minute or two. The streets started getting brighter again, more familiar. Open stores, a couple people walking, the distant glow of traffic lights. I didn't realize how far I'd wandered until now. So, he said after a while, where am I taking you? I rubbed the back of my neck. I live near Maple and 8th. He nodded immediately. Got it. No hesitation. Like he already knew the area. Of course he did. You from around here? I asked. Yeah. That explains it. What? I somehow ended up in the one place I definitely shouldn't have been. That earned a quiet chuckle from him. Yeah, you did. I glanced over at him. Up close, he looked different than I first thought. Not in a bad way. Just more. There was a faint line between his brows, like he was always thinking about something. His jaw was set, but not tense. And his hands, resting casually on the wheel, looked steady. Controlled. It made me feel grounded. Which was weird, considering I'd known him for maybe 5 minutes. You do that a lot? He asked suddenly. Do what? Walk around alone at night with a dead phone. I winced. When you say it like that, it sounds worse. Because it is worse. Okay, fair. There was a small pause. I missed my bus, I added. And I thought I could just walk it. Ronnie glanced at me briefly. You thought wrong. I huffed out a laugh. Yeah, I'm aware. Another pause. But this one felt lighter. You always pick up random strangers? I asked. He smirked slightly. Only the ones being followed. Wow. I feel special. You should. Something about the way he said it, dry, but not cold, made my chest do this weird, tight thing. I looked away, focusing on the passing streetlights. Seriously, though, I said after a second. Thank you? His grip on the wheel shifted slightly. You don't have to. I do. I cut in. You didn't have to stop. Yeah, I did. I frowned. Why? That made him pause. Not long. Just enough to notice. Then he shrugged, eyes forward again. Didn't like what I saw. Simple answer. But it didn't feel like the whole truth. I didn't push it. We pulled up to my street a few minutes later. The second the car slowed, I felt something unexpected settle in my chest. Disappointment. Which made absolutely no sense. This you? He asked. Yeah, I said quietly. He parked along the curb, putting the car in park but not turning it off right away. For a moment neither of us moved. I unbuckled my seatbelt slowly. Guess this is where I say thanks again and go, I said a little awkwardly. Guess so. But he didn't sound convinced. I opened the door slightly, then paused. I don't know what came over me. Maybe it was the adrenaline finally wearing off. Maybe it was the way he showed up out of nowhere and made everything feel safe. Or maybe it was just him. Hey, I said, turning back to him. Yeah? I hesitated for half a second. Can I get your number? The words were out before I could overthink them. There was a brief silence. Not awkward. Just unexpected. Ronnie looked at me, really looked this time. Like he was trying to figure something out. Why? He asked. I blinked. Why? Yeah. I let out a small, nervous laugh. I don't know, maybe so I can thank you properly? Or I don't know, not disappear forever after you literally saved me? His gaze softened slightly. You don't owe me anything, Miles. I know, I said. I want to. That did something. I saw it. Just a small shift in his expression, but it was there. Then he reached over, grabbing his phone from the center console. Give me yours, he said. I pulled my dead phone out, holding it up. Right. About that. He huffed out a quiet laugh, shaking his head. Of course. Yeah. All right, he said, unlocking his phone. Tell me your number. I'll text you so you have mine when that thing finally comes back to life. I did. He typed it in, then hit send. There, he said. Now you've got it. I nodded, suddenly very aware of how close we were sitting. Thanks. For the number or the ride? Both. He gave a small nod. I finally pushed the door open and stepped out, the cold hitting me again instantly. But it didn't feel the same as before. I leaned down slightly, looking back into the car. Good night, Ronnie. Good night, Miles. I closed the door. and just stood there for a second as he pulled away, watching the taillights disappear down the street. I told myself that was it. Just a weird night. A random encounter. But the second my phone buzzed to life about 10 minutes later. One new message. I already knew it wasn't over. It was just getting started. I didn't even make it to my bed before checking the message. My phone had barely hit 3% when it buzzed in my hand, and I opened it immediately, like I'd been waiting for it. Ronnie, you made it inside? I don't know why that hit the way it did. It was such a simple message. Normal. Casual. But it felt intentional. Like he actually cared. I leaned back against my door, still in my hoodie, and typed back. Me, yeah? Just got in. Ronnie, good. That was it. One word. But I stared at it longer than I should have. I don't know what I expected. Maybe something more? Maybe nothing at all. Still, I smiled. And that should have been the end of it. Right. Wrong. Because the next morning, I woke up thinking about him. Not in a dramatic way. Not like some instant love at first sight thing. Just, he was there. In the back of my mind. The way his voice sounded. Calm, steady. The way he showed up without hesitation. The way he looked at me like he was actually paying attention, not just waiting for his turn to talk. It stuck. I grabbed my phone, half expecting nothing. But there it was. Another message. Ronnie, your phone survived the night? I huffed out a quiet laugh. Me, barely. I think it's holding a grudge. A few seconds. Ronnie, fair. You put it through a lot. I hesitated. Me, you working today? The second I sent it, I felt that small wave of doubt. Was that too much? Too soon? But his reply came almost instantly. Ronnie, later. Why? I sat up a little, running a hand through my hair. I didn't overthink it this time. Me, was thinking I owe you coffee. 3 dots. They stayed there longer this time. Ronnie, you don't owe me anything. I rolled my eyes slightly, even though he couldn't see me. Me, I know. Still want to. Pause. Ronnie, okay. And for some reason that, okay, felt like a win. We met that afternoon. And I'll be honest, I almost backed out. Not because I didn't want to go. But because suddenly it felt real. Last night could have just been a one-off. A story I'd tell my friends. Yeah, this guy helped me out, it was kinda intense. But this? This meant I was choosing to see him again. And I didn't know what that meant yet. I got to the cafe 10 minutes early. Bad idea. Because all it did was give me time to overthink everything. I kept replaying the night in my head. The way he stepped in. The way he handled everything like it was nothing. Who even does that? And then... there you are. I looked up. And there he was. Ronnie. Same calm presence. Same steady energy. But in daylight he looked softer. Less like the guy who stepped out of the dark and more like just a guy. A really good-looking guy, but still. Hey, I said, standing up a little too quickly. He noticed. Didn't comment on it. Hey. There was a brief pause. Not awkward. Just real. You've got better lighting in here, I said, immediately regretting it. He raised an eyebrow slightly. Better lighting? Yeah, like, last night was all dramatic and mysterious. This is more normal. He huffed out a quiet laugh. Sorry to disappoint. You didn't, I said, maybe a little too fast. His eyes flicked to mine for a second longer than necessary. Good. We ordered coffee. Sat down. And for the first few minutes, it was surprisingly easy. We talked about normal things. Work. The city. How I somehow always managed to get lost even with GPS. But underneath all that, there was something else. Something quieter. Like we were both aware that this wasn't just random anymore. At some point, he leaned back slightly, studying me. You do this a lot? He asked. I frowned. Do what? Talk to strangers you met the night before. I smirked a little. Only the ones who saved me. Right. There it was again. That small shift in his expression. Like he didn't fully accept that. Why'd you really stop? I asked. He sighed softly, looking down at his cup for a second. Then back at me. I told you. Yeah, but that wasn't the full answer. I've seen how those situations end, he said. His tone changed slightly. Still calm, but heavier. And I didn't like where that was going. Something about that made my chest tighten. Have you? I started, then stopped. He shook his head slightly. Not me. But he didn't elaborate. And I didn't push. The conversation shifted again after that, but the tone stayed different. More open. More honest. At some point, I realized I wasn't nervous anymore. I was just there. With him. And it felt easy in a way I didn't expect. When we finally stood up to leave, I didn't want it to end. Which was new. Dangerously new. So, I said, shoving my hands into my pockets. This was nice. Yeah, he said. It was. You busy tomorrow? He asked. My heart did that thing again. No, I said. Good. And just like that, this stopped being a coincidence and started becoming something else. The next day felt different before it even started. I woke up earlier than usual, which never happens unless I have something important going on, or something I can't stop thinking about. And yeah, it was him. Ronnie. I tried to play it cool with myself. Told myself it was just because of everything that happened. The adrenaline, the weird timing, the fact that he literally stepped in at the exact moment things could have gone bad. But that wasn't all of it. If it were, I wouldn't have been standing in front of my closet for 10 minutes, overthinking what to wear. Relax, I muttered to myself, grabbing a simple hoodie. It's just coffee part 2, or whatever this is. Except it didn't feel like just anything. We decided to meet near the river. It was one of those spots people always recommend but you forget exists until someone brings it up again. Wide walking path, water catching the light, a few scattered people jogging or sitting on benches. Calm. I got there first this time. And somehow, that made it worse. Because now I was waiting. And thinking. And noticing every single person who walked by that wasn't him. Until. You always this early, or just with me? I turned. There he was. Ronnie. Hands in his pockets again, same as the first night. But this time, there was something lighter in his expression. Less guarded. Just with you, I said before I could stop myself. He raised an eyebrow slightly. Should I be concerned? Probably. I smirked. I might be setting expectations too high. That got a quiet laugh out of him. Good to know. We started walking without really deciding to. Just fell into step next to each other like it was natural. For a while, neither of us said much. But it wasn't awkward. It was comfortable. The kind of silence that doesn't need filling. So, he said after a minute, glancing over at me, you get lost on the way here too, or just at night? Hey, I scoffed. I made it here perfectly fine. Impressive. I used my GPS. Even more impressive. I nudged his arm lightly. You're annoying. You still showed up. Yeah, I said, quieter now. That lingered for a second. Then he nodded slightly, like he understood what I meant without me having to explain it. We kept walking, the sound of the water filling the spaces between our words. Can I ask you something? I said after a bit. Depends. On what? If it's a weird question. I smirked. You seem like you can handle it. Try me. I hesitated for half a second. Why were you even there that night? He didn't answer right away. His gaze shifted ahead, focusing on something in the distance. Couldn't sleep, he said finally. That's it. Drove around for a bit. Cleared my head. I nodded slowly. That's when you saw me. Yeah. And decided to play hero. He stopped walking. I took another step before realizing and turning back. His expression had changed. Not angry. Just firm. I wasn't playing anything, he said. Right. Okay, I said quickly. That came out wrong. Yeah, it did. I rubbed the back of my neck. I didn't mean it like that. Most people wouldn't have stopped. I'm not most people. There was no arrogance in it. Just a statement. And something about that made my chest tighten again. I notice, I said quietly. That seemed to settle it. He started walking again, and I fell back into step beside him. Sorry, I added after a second. You're good. We walked a little further before I spoke again. You know, I said, you're kind of hard to read. He glanced at me. That's so? Yeah. Like, sometimes I feel like I know exactly what you're thinking. And other times, nothing. That a problem? I shrugged. Not really. Just different. He was quiet for a moment. You're not hard to read. I blinked. Oh? No. What am I, then? He looked at me. Really looked. Honest, he said. And I swear, that hit harder than it should have. I looked away first, suddenly very aware of everything. The way we were walking close. The way his shoulder brushed mine every now and then. The way this didn't feel casual anymore. Is that a good thing? I asked. Yeah, he said. It is. We slowed down near the railing by the water. Stopped. People passed behind us, but it felt like they weren't really there. Like it was just us. You trust people easily? He asked. The question caught me off guard. Not really, I said. Why? He shrugged slightly. You got in my car pretty fast. I let out a small laugh. Fair. Then I looked at him. Did you give me a reason not to? That made him pause. Still, he said, quieter now. Could have gone differently. Yeah, I admitted. A small silence settled between us. But it didn't, I added. His eyes met mine. And there it was again. That feeling. Stronger this time. Not just curiosity. Not just interest. Something deeper. Unspoken. Yeah, he said softly. It didn't. Either of us moved. Not closer. Not away. Just there. Balanced on something neither of us had named yet. And for the first time, I started to realize this wasn't just about the night he saved me. It was about everything that came after. And maybe what was about to happen next. I don't know who moved first. I've replayed that moment more times than I can count, trying to figure it out, trying to pinpoint the exact second everything shifted. But the truth is, it just happened. 1 second we were standing there, looking at each other like there was something we both wanted to say but couldn't quite get out. And the next, the distance between us felt smaller. Not physically at first. Just gone. You're thinking too much again, Ronnie said quietly. I blinked. What? He tilted his head slightly, watching me. You do that. Your face gives it away. I huffed out a small laugh. Didn't you just say I was easy to read? Yeah. So now you're using it against me? Not against you, he said. Just noticing. I shook my head, but I was smiling. Okay, then what am I thinking? He didn't answer right away. His eyes dropped for a split second, brief, but enough for me to notice, before coming back to mine. And something about that made my chest tighten. You're trying to figure out what this is, he said. My smile faded a little. Because, yeah? Am I wrong? He added. I exhaled slowly, leaning back slightly against the railing. No, I admitted. You're not. There it was. Out in the open. No jokes. No deflecting. Just the truth. Ronnie nodded once, like he expected that. Same, he said. That surprised me. You are? Yeah. I studied him for a second. And? And I don't have an answer yet. Wow, I said dryly. That's super helpful. That got a small smirk out of him. I didn't say it was helpful. Then why say it? Because it's honest. I looked at him. Really looked. And for the first time, I saw it clearly. Not just the calm, steady version of him, but something underneath. Something a little more uncertain. Not weak. Just real. Okay, I said quietly. Then I'll be honest too. He didn't interrupt. Didn't rush me. Just waited. I don't usually do this, I said. Like, meet someone one night and then. I gestured vaguely between us. This. Same, he said. I let out a small breath. But I also don't usually feel like this. That hung in the air. Heavy. Clear. His jaw shifted slightly, like he was thinking about how to respond. But he didn't. Not right away. And weirdly, I didn't need him to. Because the way he was looking at me? That was already an answer. You could walk away, he said after a moment. The words caught me off guard. What? You don't know me, he continued. This could just be a moment. Something intense because of how we met. I frowned slightly. Are you trying to talk me out of this? No. Then what are you doing? He held my gaze. Giving you the option. I stared at him. Processing. Because part of me understood what he was saying. But another part didn't like it. Do you want me to walk away? I asked. His expression didn't change. But his answer came immediately. No. Something in my chest eased at that. Then don't give me an out like that, I said. Not unless you actually want me to take it. A small pause. Then he nodded. Fair. Silence settled again. But this time, it felt different. Clearer. Like whatever this was, it wasn't one-sided. And that made it real in a way that was hard to ignore. I pushed myself off the railing slightly, turning toward him more fully. So what now? I asked. He looked at me. Then at my mouth. Just for a second. But I caught it. And my heart immediately picked up. We stop overthinking it, he said. Easier said than done? Yeah, he agreed. But we can try. I swallowed. Okay. Another step closer. Not big. Barely noticeable. But enough. Enough that I could feel the shift in the air again. That same tension from before. Only stronger now. You sure? He asked, quieter this time. Yeah. He searched my face for a second, like he was making sure. Then, he moved. Slow. Deliberate. Giving me time to pull back if I wanted to. I didn't. And when his hand lightly touched my jaw, everything else just disappeared. The noise. The people. The city. All of it. Gone. It was just him. And the second his lips met mine, it wasn't rushed. It wasn't messy. It was careful. Like he was making sure I was really there. Like this was something he didn't want to get wrong. My hand came up without me thinking, gripping lightly at the front of his hoodie. And that was it. That small movement. That tiny bit of pulling him closer. That's what broke whatever control he was holding on to. Because the next second, the kiss deepened. Not aggressive. But certain. And I felt it everywhere. In my chest. In the way my breath caught. In the way I didn't even think about pulling away. When we finally did, it wasn't sudden. Just slow. Reluctant. His forehead rested lightly against mine for a second. Neither of us speaking. Neither of us moving. Yeah. I breathed barely above a whisper. He let out a quiet exhale, like he'd been holding it in. Yeah. He echoed. And just like that. There was no more guessing. No more. What is this? Because whatever it was real. We didn't talk about the kiss right away. Which, looking back, is kind of insane. Because it wasn't small. It wasn't something you could just brush off or pretend didn't mean anything. But somehow, we both just stayed there for a second, like we needed to let it settle. Ronnie was the first one to move. Barely. Just enough to lean back, his hand dropping from my jaw, though not completely. His fingers lingered for a second longer than necessary before letting go. "You good?" he asked. His voice was quieter now. Not unsure. Just softer. I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. "Yeah," I said. "I'm good." A small pause. Then I added, "Better than good, actually." That got a slight smile out of him. "Yeah? Yeah." He studied my face for a second, like he was checking for hesitation, for doubt. I didn't give him any. "Okay," he said finally. And something about that, about the way he said it, felt like a decision. Not just a reaction. We started walking again after that. Slowly. Not in a rush to go anywhere. And this time, the space between us stayed smaller. Our arms brushed more often. Not accidental anymore. Intentional. Comfortable. "So," I said after a minute, trying to keep things light even though my heart was still doing its own thing. "Is this where you tell me you do this with everyone you save at night?" He glanced at me, unimpressed. "Yeah," he said flatly. "It's part of the routine." I laughed. "Wow. I feel way less special now." "You should." I nudged him again. "You're actually the worst." "And yet," he looked at me, one eyebrow slightly raised. "You kissed me." "Correction," I said, pointing at him. "You kissed me. You didn't stop me." There. That lingered between us. But this time it wasn't heavy. It was easy. Which still surprised me. Because nothing about this situation should have been easy. We barely knew each other. This could have been messy, confusing, overwhelming. But instead it felt right. And that scared me a little. "You're doing it again," he said. "Doing what?" "Thinking too much." I exhaled. "Can you blame me?" "No." "Good. I meant what I said earlier," he added. "About? Not knowing what this is yet." I nodded slowly. "Yeah. But I do know this," he continued. "I don't want it to just be that one night." My chest tightened slightly. In a good way. "Yeah," I said. "Me either." We walked a little further before stopping near a quieter part of the path. Less people. More space. The city noise felt farther away here. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "Depends if it's weird." "It's a little weird." I smirked. "Go for it." He hesitated, actually hesitated this time. "Why do you trust me?" I blinked. "That's your weird question?" "Answer it." I looked at him, trying to figure out what he was really asking. "Honestly?" I said. "Yeah. I don't know," I admitted. "Something about you just didn't feel off." He frowned slightly. "That's it?" "No," I said. "It's more than that." I stepped a little closer without thinking. "You didn't try to scare them off by being loud or aggressive," I said. "You just handled it. Calm. Like you knew exactly what you were doing." He didn't interrupt. "You didn't look at me like I was a problem," I added. "Or like I was stupid for being there." His jaw shifted slightly at that. "And when you offered me a ride," I continued, "you didn't push it. You gave me a choice." A small pause. "That matters," I said quietly. He held my gaze. Longer this time. Then nodded once. "Okay," he said. Like that was enough. Like he understood. We stood there again, closer now, the air shifting back into something quieter. More personal. "Come here," he said suddenly. I raised an eyebrow. That didn't sound like a suggestion. It wasn't. I rolled my eyes, but I stepped closer anyway. "Bossy," I muttered. "Only when necessary." "Sure." But I didn't argue. Because the second I was within reach, his hand found mine. Simple. No hesitation. Just there. That hit differently than the kiss. Because it wasn't intense. It wasn't overwhelming. It was steady. Grounded. Like he wasn't just caught up in the moment. Like he was choosing this. Choosing me. You okay with this? He asked. I looked down at our hands for a second. Then back at him. Yeah, I said. And I meant it. Not just the hand. Not just the moment. All of it. Good, he said quietly. We stayed like that for a while. Talking about random things again. Walking. Laughing. But now, everything had shifted. There was no pretending this was casual. No pretending this was just coincidence. This was something real. Something we were both stepping into. Even if we didn't fully understand it yet. And for once, I didn't feel the need to figure it all out. I just wanted to see where it went. The first time Ronnie came over, it felt different. Not in a loud, obvious way. Just quieter. More real. Up until that point, everything between us had been outside. Moving. Walking. Coffee shops. The river. Open spaces where, if things got weird or too intense, there was always somewhere to look, somewhere to go. But this? This was my space. My apartment. My couch. My kitchen. No distractions. No easy escape. And I felt it the second I opened the door. Hey, I said, trying to sound normal. Hey, he replied, standing there like he wasn't sure if he should step in yet. I moved aside. You can come in, you know. He glanced at me, a hint of a smirk tugging at his mouth. Just making sure. Of what? That you actually want me here. That caught me off guard. Ronnie, I said. I invited you. Yeah, he said, stepping inside finally. Just checking. I closed the door behind him, suddenly very aware of how quiet everything was. Ignore the mess, I added automatically. He looked around. Then back at me. This is clean. I blinked. No, it's not. It is. You're lying. I'm not. Okay, maybe a little. That earned a quiet laugh from him, and just like that, some of the tension eased. Want something to drink? I asked, heading toward the kitchen. Water's fine. I grabbed 2 glasses, filling them at the sink. You always this polite? I asked over my shoulder. Only when I'm in someone else's place. Good to know. I handed him the glass, our fingers brushing for a second. Still not used to that. Still noticing it every time. We moved to the couch after that. Sat down. Not too close at first. Not far either. That in-between space again. So this is where you live? He said, looking around again, slower this time. Yeah. You like it? I shrugged. It's fine. It's mine. That matters. Yeah. A small silence settled. Different from before. Heavier. Not bad. Just full. You nervous? He asked. I huffed out a small laugh. Is it that obvious? A little. Cool, I muttered. Love that for me. You don't have to be. I know. But knowing and feeling are 2 different things. He shifted slightly on the couch, turning more toward me. I'm not here to make this weird, he said. You're doing a great job so far. I teased. Good. I meant what I said, he added. About? Wanting this to be more than just a moment. I looked at him. Really looked. Because this wasn't the river anymore. This wasn't a passing conversation. This was direct. And? I asked. And I don't rush things, he said. That surprised me. A little. Really? I said, raising an eyebrow. Because the whole kiss by the river thing felt kinda fast. That wasn't rushed, he said calmly. No? No. Then what was it? He held my gaze. Something we both wanted. Yeah. He wasn't wrong. Okay, I admitted. Fair. His expression softened slightly. But this? He gestured lightly between us, the space, the room, everything. This is different. How? He leaned back slightly, but his eyes didn't leave mine. This is where things either stay real, he said, or get messy. I swallowed. Because that was true. You think we're gonna get messy? I asked. I think we could, he said honestly. If we don't pay attention. And if we do? A small pause. Then we don't. Simple. Again. Always simple with him. I exhaled slowly, leaning back into the couch. You're very direct, I said. I don't like guessing. Yeah, I noticed. So what do we do? I asked. He looked at me for a second. We slow it down, he said. That wasn't what I expected. Slow? I repeated. Yeah. I tilted my head slightly. You're the one who kissed me first. And I'd do it again, he said without hesitation. That hit harder than it should have. But that doesn't mean we rush everything else, he added. I studied him. Because this wasn't how I expected this to go. Most guys? They'd lean into the momentum. Push it further. But Ronnie? He was holding it steady. Grounding it. And weirdly, that made me want him more. Okay, I said slowly. So we slow it down. Yeah. And what does that look like? He didn't answer right away. Instead, he shifted closer. Not all the way. Just enough. Enough that I could feel the warmth of him next to me. That, he said quietly. My breath caught slightly. Just being here? Yeah. No pressure. No rush. Just this. I looked at him. At the way he wasn't trying to push anything further. At the way he was choosing to stay right here. With me. And something about that felt more intense than anything else we'd done so far. Okay, I said again, softer this time. His hand moved slightly on the couch. Not grabbing mine. Just close enough. Close enough that if I wanted to, I could. So I did. I slid my hand into his. Slow. Deliberate. His fingers tightened around mine instantly. No hesitation. And when I leaned into him, just a little, he didn't pull away. Didn't rush. Just stayed there with me. Steady. Warm. Real. And for the first time since all of this started, I wasn't thinking about what came next. I was just here. With him. And that felt like enough. Things didn't explode after that. No dramatic shift. No sudden, overwhelming moment where everything became intense all at once. Instead, it stayed quiet. Steady. And somehow, that made it mean more. Ronnie and I ended up sitting there longer than I expected. Talking, not talking, just existing in the same space without feeling like we had to fill it every second. At some point, my head rested against his shoulder. It wasn't planned. I didn't ask. I just leaned. And he let me. No hesitation. No tension. Just adjusted slightly so it was more comfortable, like it was the most natural thing in the world. You always this easy to be around? I murmured. I felt the small shift of his chest as he let out a quiet breath, almost a laugh. Only on good days. And this is a good day? Yeah, he said. It is. I smiled a little at that, even though he couldn't see it. We stayed like that for a while. Long enough that time kind of blurred. Long enough that I forgot about everything else. Work. Stress. The random chaos of life. All of it felt far away. You know, I said eventually, my voice quieter now. If my phone hadn't died, I never would have met you. Yeah, he said. Which is kinda crazy. It is. I lifted my head slightly, turning just enough to look at him. Do you believe in stuff like that? I asked. Like things happening for a reason? He didn't answer right away. Typical. Ronnie always took a second before saying something that mattered. I think, he said slowly, sometimes things just happen. I tilted my head. That's not very romantic. A small smirk tugged at his mouth. I didn't say it was random. Then what are you saying? He looked at me. And this time, there was no hesitation. I'm saying I'm glad it happened. Yeah. That did something to me. I held his gaze for a second longer than usual. Me too, I said quietly. No jokes. No deflecting. Just real. He shifted slightly, his hand brushing against mine again. Not by accident this time. And when our fingers laced together, it felt familiar. Like we'd already done this 100 times. You still think this could just be a moment? I asked. He shook his head slightly. No. Yeah? No. I searched his face, making sure. Then what is it? It's a start, he said. Simple. But it landed deeper than anything else. A start. Not something rushed. Not something forced. Just something beginning. I let that settle in my chest. And for once, I didn't question it. Didn't overthink it. Didn't try to define it too quickly. Because I didn't need to. Not anymore. Okay, I said softly. He squeezed my hand once. Not tight. Just enough. And somehow, that said more than anything else could have. Later that night, after he left, I stood by my window for a while. Watching the street. Thinking about everything. How it started. How close I came to a completely different outcome. How one random moment, one person stepping in, changed everything. And yeah, maybe Ronnie was right. Maybe things don't always happen for a reason. Maybe sometimes they just happen. But this didn't feel random anymore. It felt like something I wanted to hold on to. Something I wanted to see grow. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't scared of that. A few minutes later, my phone buzzed. I didn't even have to check to know it was him. Ronnie, you good? I smiled, typing back without thinking. Me, yeah? You. Ronnie, yeah? I stared at the screen for a moment. Then typed one more message. Me, I'm glad you found me that night. This time, the reply took a little longer. But when it came, it was exactly what I